Hi, I'm Callie. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I write them down. I call them into my sponsor, who kicks ass. I lovingly kicks ass. I I eat everything I commit, no matter what. I don't eat anything else, no matter what. I do this without exception, no matter what's going on. Um, and I Great abstinence is the most important thing in my life, without a doubt. Um, my abstinence date is November 23rd, 2019. And I think that makes today number 300. And hold on, I'm just going to check just to make sure. Day 330. Yeah. So that's really cool. Um, this has been a real one day at a time stretch of days for me. And I'm really grateful that I was asked to qualify today, and that it was a slogan meeting. And my higher power has a real way of giving me exactly what I need when I need it. And that often doesn't look like what I think I need, which just really confirms to me over and over again that I am not my higher power. And I am not running this show. And, I need to know, like, where I am, and, which seat I'm in, and, what's my responsibility, like, what's mine to do and what's not mine to do. And, that means I'm not in charge of the future. And that has always been really, really confusing to me. I was taught a lot of things that I've learned since being in program are actually really backwards. That I'm responsible for other people's emotional well-being, what other people are thinking of me, what other people are thinking of other people, what other people might do. Um, you know, if you know, if daddy's gonna drink, if all sorts of things, and if you are a if no, let me not put this in the second person. When I was a blossoming little compulsive eater, like, just implanting all these patterns of thinking like that, like, I didn't need any help to, to spring into compulsive eating. But like kind of like programming this mainframe for like that kind of stuff to just be like, totally like wired for anxiety, like to hit the real world on my own, really like didn't do any favors. So like there was a lot of you know uh I was ready to live 6 million days at a time once I was getting into adulthood. So I've got, I was primed, with one foot just to be as far into the future as I could get it, worried about everybody I knew, everybody I didn't know, strangers, people I'd never talked to. How many imaginary conversations can I have in my head at the same time. Oh, an amazing number. How, can I, can I try to study for school, and engage with a text and have thoughts about this text and then say, oh, well, what would he or she think about me if they knew that this was my reaction to this test? And then try to like hold that, that material for the exam. This was difficult, for for someone. But there was something that, took that anxiety away at first, momentarily, and that was stuffing my face with all the foods that we don't eat on the gray sheet, and it would momentarily, briefly, relieve me of that anxiety. Um, and the amount of time that I would get relief from that, would get shorter and shorter. And then, I found other things that would relieve me of that anxiety. And, they got shorter and shorter, and I would combine them with the stuff that we don't eat. And then I found restricting would give me a sense of control, and that would relieve me of the anxiety. And the longer I would try to restrict, the more control I felt. And then I wasn't able to do that. And then I would combine the restricting and the binging, and it got really unmanageable, really, really unmanageable. As you all probably, I would imagine, sitting here with me today can relate to in, in some sense. So there's that 1 foot way off in the future. Now, you know, combine that with just this. Yeah, I mean, I think I was born with it, but all of those behaviors um, created this incredible, overwhelming, oppressive feeling of guilt and shame. And I was never able on my own to let go of those feelings. And I would obsess about the things that I had done, whether anybody knew about them, whether anybody didn't know about them. And I was never able, to let go of those things. And where, I would be talking to somebody and I would think of, something that I had done, and I would physically react, and somebody would say, are you okay? And I would often say, I have a nervous tick. I have a, a whatever, and it was a physical reaction of, internal shame that I was feeling just thinking about something that I had done. And because I was constantly living in the past. And I mean, oppression is really the best word for it, um, because I was so caught up in punishing myself for things that I've done with behaviors from, uh, my disease, my addiction to food, whether, engaging in, stuffing food in my mouth or restricting from food, or the myriad behaviors that we have around food, the thoughts as well as the behaviors, or any of the other, you know, addictive things that, I've collected through, the history of my life, from having the same disease. And so, I I've, and it all, for me, it all stems from the same disease, that centers in my mind that the big book talks about. Um, and, but the key factor of that is that it, like roots in a plant, that guilt and shame just grew deeper and deeper and deeper in my mind. And the deeper it grew, the stronger it held on, until it was just, like rooted all throughout my psyche. And, so here I was, like 1 foot way over here in the future worried about, everybody and everything that could possibly happen, and feeling so incredibly responsible for all of those things that I had absolutely no control over. And the other foot in the past
Minutes
for,
gone.
thank you, for everything, that I had ever done, and completely convinced, that I was, probably the worst person who had ever lived, so completely consumed with the bondage of self, you know, and just like massive ego, and like 90% of it negative, and because it's negative, I'm convinced that it's not ego, because like, I think of ego being like somebody who thinks like they're the greatest thing ever, narcissistic, so like I totally don't identify it with that, you know, and just completely miserable, and like out of control, and I lived a lot of my life like that. And when I look at it, it's amazing that I spent as little time in mental hospitals as I did. And I spent as little time, completely dysfunctional as I did. And it's really amazing that, like, I was as, you know, high bottom as I was. Um, and so I mean, there was some dark stuff in there, and I really don't think it makes any difference to, like, kind of, rake up the war stories. I mean, we've all got them. We don't get here without them, but it's the patterns, it's the causes and the conditions, I really believe, that are truly important. And, what saved my life was being able to go through the steps. For me, whether it's, 4 through 9, over and over, or 10, 11, and 12, with the individual things over and over, it, the point is over and over. I have to do this stuff over and over. And because these patterns, they repeat, because for me, it's so deep down. Like, I need the loving, patient guidance of my fellows in this program. And, that's what the beauty of being able to do this one day at a time is really all about. Like, I don't have to work these steps. Like, nobody sets a date where I have to finish this by. I'm allowed, to do this at my own pace, for as long as it takes for me to heal. And then I get to see, like, I'm allowed to live in my head one day at a time. And nothing has helped me realize that more than putting my food on the scale 3 times a day. And there's something about the beautiful spirituality of, the touchstones. I love, hearing that when I came in, the touchstones of those 3 meals. Like, it created this rhythm for me. And I got to hear somebody say in a meeting last night, it was like having their higher power on their shoulder 3 times a day, whispering, "Hey, it's me. I'm here with you." Like something like that at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'd never thought about it like that, but that's really what it was like for me. And, when I mean, like, I came into Gray Sheet 3 times, and this third time was the last time I came in. And like, I've never wished so fervently for anything than I have that, that this is the last time I have to get abstinent. Um, and,
One
I'm,
minute left.
thank you. I'm doing everything I know to do to make sure that that's the case, but like these 3 meals, like a day, like they kind of like, it's kind of like, melting our fat in the skillet, you know, it melts out into all the other areas of my life. And the rhythm of those 3 meals have, like, helped like move my feet in from the future and the past, to where, like, oh, you know, I really, don't have to worry about that stuff, because I was living in the food out here and living in the shame of what I did with the food back there. And now, like, I just live, in my meal. And I know I've got another one coming. And now I get to live in my days, and like that didn't happen overnight, and I'm still working on it, but I know that like when the anxiety kicks in, when the fear kicks in, I can do the same thing I did with the food cravings. I pick up the phone, I call a fellow in recovery, and I talk about it. Thank you. And, the feelings start to melt away. And I have had so much life in one hand recently, and I've had my food in the other hand, and I have not clapped these last few weeks. And that is such a huge gift of this program. And I know I can keep doing this one day at a time with you guys and my higher power. And it's saving my life every day. And I am eternally grateful for that. So thank you so much.